Erica here. I am here to do some reviews of some comics. So I decided that I'm going to do probably like a bi-monthly or maybe quarterly, every 3 months or what have you. Just quick video of reviews of all the comics I've read because I never have enough to say about just one of them for one video, but I do want to talk about them. And some months I read a lot more comics than I do in other months, so that's why it'll kind of depend. But I think when I get like between 6 and 10 read, I'll go ahead and do one. And it'll be great. So I'm here to talk about the comics I read in January and February today. And let's get started. So the first comic book I read in January was Saga Volume 4 by Brian K. Vaughan and Fiona Staples. I can't say very much about plot without giving anything away for the previous volumes, but if you have not started reading Saga yet, like everyone, I highly recommend you do so. The storyline's amazing. I think that these would be a great place to start if you are kind of dipping your toes into the world of comics and graphic novels. So this is lovely. Fiona Staples is a brilliant artist. I mean, look at that. Can you see it? So yeah, she's great. And I ended up giving this volume 4 out of 5 stars, which is what I've given all of the previous volumes as well. Next in January, I read Volume 1 of Alex and Ada. This is highly recommended by Steve at Steve Reads Books and Sabrina from Unmanaged Mischief. This was brilliant. It's the story of a man who lives in a universe where robots are real, and some robots have recently become sentient and have attacked humans, and his grandmother buys him a robot for his birthday, and he has to figure out what to do with her. And it's really, really beautiful. It's not, for a science fiction concept, it's not so far from the world we live in, and I think it was very well done. I really like the simple art style of this. So yeah, it's just pretty straightforward, but nicely done. This is by Jonathan Luna and Sarah Vaughn. So another male-female duo. It was a really quick read. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. I was really upset when it was over because I wanted it to keep going. I was very much devouring it. So I highly recommend this. Then I read Volume 1 of Miss Marvel. I'm sure you've seen this around. This is by G. Willow Wilson and Adrian Alfona and has some other coloring artists and letterers as well. This is a great take on the classic Marvel superhero, but it's focused on a Muslim girl living in Jersey City, present day. And so it's great to see a person of color represented in a traditional comic book style like this. It's great to see a female represented in a traditional comic book style like this. And I really enjoyed this story. Obviously, it's the first volume, so it's kind of her coming into her power and trying to figure out what the hell to do with it. I gave this 4 out of 5 stars as well. As you can tell, January was a pretty good month for comics. And then lastly, in January, I read the first volume of Amulet by Kazu Kibushi. This is a middle grades series, as you can tell by the Scholastic logo, and it was so much fun. This is the story of a family, a mother and 2 kids, and in the very beginning, I'm talking like in the first couple of pages, their father dies, and then they move into this kind of old, creepy house that belonged to the mother's family, and they find a hidden doorway and end up going on a crazy but kind of terrifying adventure and meeting a crazy assemblage of characters. I had a really good time with this. It's a super quick read. It looks kind of thick, but it's short, and a lot of the pages have very, very little text on them. As you can see, the art is absolutely amazing. I'm excited to continue on with this series. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I think I gave this 3 or 3.5 stars out of 5. It didn't have a terrible amount of substance to it for a first volume, and like I said, it's middle grade, so it's really good fun. And again, if you're looking to get into graphic novels and you maybe like young adult or middle grades fantasy, you should probably pick this up because this is a good one. So that's it for January. In February, I also read 4 volumes. The first thing I read was Pretty Deadly by Kelly Sue DeConnick and a whole cast of female artists and writers, which is amazing. At first, I had no idea what the hell was going on in this story. I was really lost. It's a little confusing at first. By the end, though, I was totally hooked. I absolutely loved it. The art is mind-blowing. I mean, it's so detailed. I'm trying to find one without boobs. Okay. It's so detailed and so well done. This, by the way, definitely not for children. There's a lot of cursing, there's violence, there's nudity, there's all kinds of stuff going on. Actually, in general, unless I say it's for children, just don't recommend the things that I read to children, because I'm not a child, and so I read things for grown-ups, usually. So, definitely recommend this. It's great to see an all-female team getting behind something like this, and I cannot wait to get my hands on the second volume. I gave this 4 out of 5 stars. Next, I read the first volume of Rat Queens. This is the funnest reading experience I've had in a really, really long time. And this was very refreshing after Pretty Deadly, because Pretty Deadly was pretty mentally exhausting. Rat Queens is great. This is by Curtis J. Weeb and Rock Upchurch. Unfortunately, Rock Upchurch will not be working on later volumes, from what I understand. He was recently charged with, maybe, don't quote me on that, domestic assault against his wife. It's bad. But Curtis J. Weeb has said he's going to continue on with the series. And this is just a badass story about 4 female characters who are kind of plays on Dungeons and Dragons tropes. And they're hilarious, and they just kick ass all over the place. And again, I love the art in this. I'm sure if you've heard this talked about, you've seen this full page spread, because it seems to be the one everyone pulls out. But those are the 4 main characters. And I had so much fun with this. I cannot wait to see what happens next. And again, I gave this 4 out of 5 stars. After that, I read the second volume of The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen by Alan Moore and Kevin O'Neill. I was not completely in love with the first volume. I also didn't really love the second volume, but I do think it was better than the first volume. I feel like there was a lot more character development here, and it was a lot more action-packed because we didn't have to take the time to be introduced to the characters like you did in the first volume. This is pretty standard. It's pretty well known. My problem with this is that I love the idea of it so much. Like, I love the idea of superheroes based on classic literary characters. And so I just think that it disappoints me a little bit, because I feel like so much more could be done with it than what is being done with it. But other than the fact that the heroes are based on literary characters, this is your pretty standard superhero team type of story. I recommend checking it out if it sounds interesting to you, but again, it's not my favorite thing that I've read in the last 2 months. And then I read another second volume. This is the second volume of Fables. This is Animal Farm. This is by Bill Willingham, Mark Buckingham, and Steve Leiloha. I have no idea. Again, this is a first volume that I wasn't super impressed by, but I've heard so many great things about it. And the second volume was fine, but I'm still not really invested in the characters. And again, I think it's such an awesome concept. And if you don't know, Fables is about fairyland, classic fairyland characters that have been exiled to the real world. And they're trying to get along there. Honestly, I think that the TV show Once Upon a Time is better. At least in its first couple of seasons. So, maybe that's my problem. I do like the art in this, though. It's, like, kind of kitschy, almost vintagey, and, like, very standard. Also, these pages aren't glossy. They're just plain paper, so that's kind of cool. They almost have, like, a newspaper feel to them. Again, this is a series I would recommend checking it out if it interests you, because I know a lot of people love it, but it fell a little flat for me, and I ended up giving it 3 out of 5 stars. It was fine. I liked it. It was worth reading, but I wasn't blown away by it at all. So yeah, those were all the comics I read in January and February. If you have any questions or want to share your thoughts on any of these, please let me know in the comments, and I will see you all soon. Bye.